Hey, you're Brandon, right? What's a loser like you doing here?
I heard this taunting voice from behind me and involuntarily flinched. Gripping my chest that was pounding wildly, I turned around to find, as expected, a smirking Mike bringing back unpleasant memories, and I froze on the spot.
You know how much this course meal costs. There's no way someone like you can afford it. So just go home. I don't want my dinner ruined.
Mike sneered, closing in on me. Looking up at him, being shorter, I clenched my fists tightly. My name is Brandon Parker. This spring, I started working in my familiar hometown for the kids. After graduating from college, I spent 2 years learning more practical skills and finally got to work in a field I'm truly passionate about. The place I work is one where most local kids end up needing at some point, and I've been cared for by the people working there when I was young. They were surprised yet very happy when I showed up for the interview wanting to work there. Working at this welcoming place, interacting with kids every day is challenging but fulfilling. And above all, if I get through this week, I'll receive my first paycheck. I've decided to use my first paycheck to repay my kind and admirable parents, who always supported my dreams. It might sound cheesy, but I plan to take them to a fancy restaurant to express my gratitude. My family was never wealthy. My dad worked in a factory, making machine parts, always working hard for our family, and my mom, in Dad's stead, gently supported me, a crybaby when I was young. I've always wanted to tell them how grateful I am for making my dreams come true. They both smiled happily and said they were looking forward to it when I mentioned my plan, making me happy too. On the promised weekend night, I took my parents to the fancy restaurant I had secretly reserved. They smiled with joy and surprise, and we reminisced the old memories over delicious dishes. It had been a while since I had such a relaxed conversation with my parents, and I drank a bit too much in the excitement. I got up to go to the restroom. On my way back, though I was smiling, thinking of my parents' happy faces, I was concerned about the occasional somber expressions my mom showed. Why does my usually cheerful mom show such a face? There must be a reason. Lost in these thoughts, I heard a familiar voice from behind.
Hey, isn't that Brandon?
I shivered at the sound. Suppressing my racing heart, I turned around to see Mike, my classmate from elementary to middle school, and Kayla, a childhood friend, looking at me in shock, and I was paralyzed. As Mike approached me with a smirk, waves of unwanted memories flooded my mind. In elementary school, I was a shy kid who cried at the smallest things. Mike, the class bully, enjoyed teasing me. Mike, this so-called leader among us kids, used to bring others and torment me. They threw bugs at me, making me cry, and forced me to slide down slopes even when I was scared. To me, back then, it was nothing short of cruelty. Mike and his friends would laugh at my frightened cries, leaving me in tears and just walking away. Only Kayla, my childhood friend, would ever treat my wounds with her first aid kit.
Don't let those mean guys get to you. I know you're stronger and kinder than anyone.
Kayla would say with a smile, helping me endure the bullying. But seeing Kayla's sad smile, I feared making my kind parents worry if they saw my wounds. To avoid letting my mom realize I was being bullied, I started making up excuses for my mud-stained clothes and the band-aids on my knees. Whenever she asked, I would say, I fell during PE, or I got dirty playing football with friends. This way, I lived in fear of being teased and harassed at school. While at home, I tried to keep my parents from finding out. As a result, I couldn't concentrate on my studies in elementary and middle school, often getting scolded by teachers for poor grades. My bad grades became another reason for Mike and his friends to mock me. They would come over to my desk whenever test results were returned, look at my scores, and burst into laughter.
You can't even do sports, and now you can't study either. You're just a loser. Well, I'm the son of a company president, an elite.
Mike would taunt. Hearing these words, I would end up crying, but Mike and his friends found it amusing, and the other students just turned a blind eye, offering no help. I continued living under such stressful conditions, but when I reached my second year of middle school and the exam season began for a prep school, the harassment from Mike lessened, allowing me to focus a bit more on my studies. I desperately studied to get into a high school far away from Mike, hoping for a peaceful life. Thankfully, I managed to get into a different high school, finally finding a safe and comfortable environment. I thought I had gained some strength to resist such unjust pressure. But now, facing Mike again, my body wouldn't move. My mind went completely blank. Unfazed by my discomfort, Mike continued with a nasty smirk.
Why's a loser like you here? Do you know how expensive the course meals are at this place? There's no way you can afford it. You're ruining my dinner with this beautiful lady.
Towered over by the taller Mike, I couldn't help but look up at him, frozen and unable to move. Trembling and unable to speak, I was just an amusement for Mike. He turned to Kayla and said, "Come on, say something to him. It's embarrassing to have a guy like you as a childhood friend." Kayla, suddenly addressed by Mike, looked at me with a near-tear-full face. Seeing her expression, I clenched my fists and somehow managed to move my trembling lips. I'm not a loser. Stop making Kayla uncomfortable. I'm not the same person I was back then. As I glared at Mike, he grabbed my shirt in irritation. Bracing myself for a punch, I closed my eyes tightly. Then, I heard a stern voice, "That's enough." Turning towards the voice, I saw my dad with an unusually cold expression, and my mom glaring at Mike with a face like thunder. Mike, frozen by the unexpected arrival of my parents, let go of me as my dad coldly asked, "What do you think you're doing to my precious son?" Mike clicked his tongue and turned his back on us. As he tried to leave with Kayla, my dad continued,
"Running away now won't change anything. Mike Ellis, I know everything you've done to Brandon. Despite all this time, it seems you hadn't grown up. I'll have a proper talk with your dad. Since your son dared to mess with mine, who will save countless lives as a doctor, Parker Industries will cancel all contracts with Ellis Medical Equipment."
At that moment, Mike turned around in shock. "Brandon, a doctor, and Parker Industries," he muttered, looking pale as he glanced between my dad and me. In fact, after focusing on my studies in high school, I had excelled and developed a dream of becoming a doctor to help the injured and suffering. Having shared this with my parents, they fully supported me, and I had just started working as a pediatrician at a local hospital this spring after completing medical school and a 2-year residency. Of course, Mike didn't know any of this, and I was puzzled by my dad's words. While I was still processing, Mike desperately apologized to my dad for his past actions, but my dad coldly dismissed him, saying, "It's too late for anything now." Stunned, Mike collapsed to his knees as we turned to continue our dinner. My dad, now gentle and smiling, said, "Let's continue our meal." As we were about to return to our private room, I caught Kayla's eye. She looked lost, standing behind Mike. I managed to say, "Would you like to join us?" My parents smiled and nodded in agreement, and Kayla joined us, relieved. Then my dad revealed everything he had kept from me. Though he had always said he worked in a factory making machine parts, he was actually the heir to a company managing many factories and had become its president when I was in middle school. The factory specialized in precision parts for well-known medical and food manufacturers. It's including Ellis Medical Equipment, one of their clients.
Come to think of it, Mike always boasted about his dad being a president. He's working in his dad's company now.
Piecing together my dad's and Kayla's stories, it seemed Mike had unknowingly insulted a key business partner of his own company, resulting in a canceled deal. As I nodded in understanding, my mom looked at me with teary eyes, asking what was wrong. She slowly shared her long-held feelings, revealing why she was so emotional against Mike. Apparently, both my parents knew about the bullying I faced from Mike at school. My mom, who first noticed something was wrong, discussed with my dad what to do. They decided, "We don't want him to think that parents will solve everything. We won't intervene unless we see signs of injuries that could endanger his life. We'll wait for him to tell us." My mom was always pained by my attempts to hide injuries and stains. Even now, as an adult, she felt guilty, thinking that those memories might still be a scar on my heart. As she spoke, tears streamed down her face. I smiled gently at her and said, "Don't cry, Mom. It's because of the way you raised me that I've worked so hard to become a doctor who can help kids with the same wounds. The dream to heal not just patient bodies, hearts too, is a gift you gave me." I told her this to stop her tears, but she only cried more. My dad gently rubbed her back, tears in his eyes too.
We were always worried about you, but didn't want to spoil you. You might not remember, but when you became a high school student and told us you wanted to be a doctor, we were so happy. Remember, your mom and dad will always support your dreams.
Tears welled up in my eyes, and Kayla, sitting next to me, offered a handkerchief with a smile, teasing, "You need to work on not crying so much." I smiled through my tears at her kind gesture. On the way back from the restaurant, my parents asked me to walk Kayla home. While walking, she confided in me about graduating from college, becoming a nurse, and working at a major local hospital. She also shared how Mike, now a medical equipment sales rep, had fixated on her and pestered her, but she couldn't firmly reject him. As I wondered how to respond, Kayla suddenly looked up at the night sky.
I remember today why I became a nurse. It was because of the time you thanked me with a smile when I treated you in elementary school. I wasn't wrong. You were always the strongest and kindest person. Thank you for giving me a dream,"
she said with a warm smile. I felt like crying again, and she teased me, "You really need to get over that crying habit." We shook hands, promising to support each other as colleagues in the medical field. Later, my dad actually went to speak with Mike's father, the president of Ellis Medical Equipment. Despite their past relationship, they agreed to continue business if Mike transferred from headquarters to a regional branch for further training. I hope that if we meet again, he will have changed. As I face the lives of children striving to live each day, I feel a warm sensation in my heart when I hear them say, "Thank you, doctor. I'm truly grateful for becoming a doctor